For our healthcare executives out there that are listeners, it would be so great to meet you in person. And that opportunity is coming up in June at our 13th annual Healthcare Executive Forum. It is being held in Madison, Wisconsin. It is the afternoon of June 18th and the morning of June 19th. This year, the topic is how to make high reliability, psychological safety, and just culture simple. And not just make it simple, make it happen. Because what we're known for at Capstone Leadership Solutions is taking big, complex ideas and helping them become practical, doable, and actionable ideas that get positive impact. You can sign up using the link below in the show notes, or you can email us at info@capstoneleadership.net. It would be great to see you there. So if we're shortchanging the process, we're shortchanging the results as well. So it's slower, and we're likely not really achieving the results we set out to do. And definitely we're not likely sustaining them. So instead of spending our time committed to those systems, committed to those cycles, and then evolving, optimizing, and iterating them over time, we keep restarting over. Welcome to Culture Change RX, the podcast for healthcare professionals that are committed to creating a thriving workplace culture, improving the experiences of employees and patients, and ultimately unlocking their organization's next level of potential. I'm Sue Tetzlaff, your host and co-founder of Capstone Leadership Solutions. Join me and my insightful guests each week as we share actionable insights for navigating the crucial people side of the business of healthcare. Subscribe now for a weekly dose of Culture Change RX. Now let's dive into this week's conversation where culture change takes center stage. Welcome to another episode of Culture Change RX. It is Sue Tetzlaff here with this solo episode that we call a Culture Bite. And today I'd like to equip and inspire you around the topic of cycles. And in our work in helping organizations and guiding them in organization-wide sustained long-term improvement and growth and transformation, there's some really core elements to the work that we do in partnership with healthcare organizations. And in particular, we're focused on small and rural healthcare organizations just because that is our love and passion of our company, Capstone Leadership Solutions. But I know these concepts, I know these elements will work in other healthcare organizations, but also in other businesses. So really it's about this idea of having these visions and these strategies defined for an organization and then being able to execute on them well. That's really, like all these plans and all these visions that we might have for our business. They're all wonderful, right? We have to do that part, but until we execute on them, nothing really changes. Nothing really ever grows. Nothing improves. And so we've got to have the plans and then we have to have the execution. And in the work that we've been doing for well over a decade now with dozens of healthcare organizations involves really getting expert at our execution systems. So how do we take any plan and bring it to life? And some of those foundational elements that we talk about a lot here on the podcast and we write about in our newsletter, and definitely we're digging in deep in support of our partners when we're engaged with them, are the elements of a framework. And our framework for achieving great results is that at the center of that framework is creating those great strategies and then creating alignment and ownership and agility in our organization so that we can actually achieve those strategies. So that's the framework of creating and then executing on strategies. And then there's a formula that drives the creating strategies. And that is a pillar-based formula of people, service, quality, finance, and growth. And in particular, the formula is that people, service, and quality is a core focus of our strategies because it is our core business. And when we can strengthen people, service, and quality continuously and move from good to great, great to even greater, we can then leverage that for easier and faster growth, which then leads to improved finances. So there's the framework and then there's the formula. But then to bring all of this to life, to really then get down to more of the details, there's 4 execution systems. That is the approach for implementing the framework and the formula. And these 4 systems are a team system. This is how we team around here. A leadership system. This is how we lead around here. A change system. This is how we change around here. And an achievement system. This is how we set and achieve goals around here. But let's go a level deeper today in this Culture Bite episode. And I want to talk about some of the cycles that are part and parcel to the systems. So, in essence, embedded in each of those systems, like a leadership system, are some cycles. And you can imagine that cycles and systems lead to continuous activity, right? So, we're cycling through, we're systematic. So, we're guided by the framework, we're guided by the formula. And then we're put into action into these systems and these cycles that are embedded in these systems. So let me back away and step away and put this into an example or an analogy related to improving our health. So let's say we have a vision for improving our health. You can imagine that adopting something like a framework for your health and then a formula for your health. Maybe the formula is move more, eat less, or something like that. Then it's really going to be the actual systems and cycles that you use to every day take action, every week, every month, every quarter, every year, take action on that formula, on that framework that you've adopted to help you meet that overarching priority of improved health, optimized health. And if we don't have adopted systems and cycles that we're following, for instance, for our exercise or our eating, then we're doing all of these one-off efforts and attempts. And it's like we're starting over all the time. And the start or the starting over is always the hardest, right? And it's also time consuming because you have to plan it and you have to figure it out and you have to research it. And the starting over all the time is the hardest part and even the time consuming part. Many of us, we've gone there in our lifetime where we've started a new exercise program, right? And so it actually hurts more too. Our muscles are sore and it takes more effort. But if we sustain this in a systematic way with these continuous cycles that we're continually optimizing and maybe tweaking over time versus restarting over time, then we're not in an exercise program. We're more acting out our lifestyle of moving our body. And that might look different throughout cycles. Let's say for me, I have a cycle of seasonal activities that I do. So in the winter months in northern rural Michigan, where we have lots of snow, what I do to move my body looks different than what I do in the summer months. But it's all part of a long-standing formula and framework and system that I'm using to have a lifestyle of moving my body. And then I have these cycles of exercise routines or a cadence of this purposeful activity that aligns with that. And I'm not starting over all the time. I'm evolving through these cycles. And then I can optimize those cycles. So maybe each summer is better than any summer before. Maybe each winter cycle is better than any winter cycle before. I'm not starting over. I'm continuing through these cycles. And so it's not an exercise program per se. It's a continuous cycle of executing on my plans to improve my activity and fitness. The same thing is true with nutrition, right? We can be on diets that are one-off efforts or attempts that, again, each time we start, it takes harder effort and more time to always be starting. But once we're in a continuous system that has cycles, then we really have a nutrition system, a lifestyle of how we eat versus one-off diets here and there throughout the year. So, a lot of organizations get like us at humans when it comes to our efforts to achieve our strategic priorities. We have these plans, we have these visions, and then we do all these one off efforts and attempts versus having these systems and having these cycles that, whatever our strategic priorities are, based on the formula and the framework, we can align them with these systems. So we just incorporate them into these systems, into these cycles versus having to figure out how are we going to do it. We know we have these systems, we know we have these cycles, so we make our new priorities, our new strategic priorities, just they are now the focus of the efforts of the team system, of the achieve system, of the leadership system, of the change system. So maybe, for instance, in my personal example again of my health, using that system and cycle approach, maybe one summer I set this goal to participate in a half marathon or a kayak event or something like that. I make the training for the event the focus of my daily or my weekly cadence and cycle of exercising. So, in our organizations, when we don't have defined execution systems and we don't have the embedded cycles or the cadence of activities within those systems to continually improve, to continually grow, to continually execute, continually change, continually set and achieve goals, continually engage employees and teams to focus on those efforts and contribute to those efforts, focus leaders on those efforts as well, then we truly are slowed down, and it feels like we're starting again the exercise program all over again where our bodies hurt, right? It hurts us more. And we're not going to see results right away. They're rarely instant or obvious right away. We have to sustain it longer term to see results. And if we're doing a lot of start, stop, one off efforts and attempts, there's a high likelihood that we're shortchanging the process that's going to get us to those optimal results, like plan, do, study, adjust. So if we're doing those one-off efforts and attempts, then we're probably doing the plan, do, and then we're taking a pause, and then we're moving on to the next thing, and we're plan, do, and we're taking a pause, and we're starting over, and we're doing it again. But we're skipping the study adjust part where we're really optimizing the efforts. So if we're doing the plan, do, move on to the next thing, then we're shortchanging the process and we're not getting to better iterations. We're not getting to those sustained long-term results. And so if we're shortchanging the process, we're shortchanging the results as well. So it's slower, and we're likely not really achieving the results we set out to do. And definitely we're not likely sustaining them. So instead of spending our time committed to those systems, committed to those cycles, and then evolving, optimizing, and iterating them over time, we keep restarting over. So I gave you some examples of what that looks like as it relates to our visions and priorities to maintain our health and improve our health through movement and nutrition systems, and having cadence or cycles of purposeful movement and activities and nutrition. What are some of these cycles that are really supportive of organizations and their efforts to use this execution system type approach to always improve and grow their healthcare organization? So I'll give you a couple examples here too to make the point. So I mentioned the 4 systems, execution systems, that have proven to be extremely impactful and powerful in improving and growing healthcare organizations in our partnership work with them. But embedded into each of these systems, one level lower into really breaking down what is this system? What do we do? What actions do we take? There are one or more cycles that are these continuous purposeful activities that make up that system. So, for instance, our execution system that we call the Achieve system. So, within that Achieve system, there's this annual cycle to set and achieve goals. And teams do that, employee driven teams. That's part of the team system where they set and achieve. They have this cycle, this regular cadence of activity of every year. Their purpose of their team aligns with the top strategic priority. And they have this continuous cycle for setting up these annual action plans, these quarterly action plans, each and every year. And they don't decide, okay, next year, how are we going to do this? They have this continuous cycle of setting these action plans, and then their team's efforts throughout the year are to act on those action plans. And again, then they also have embedded into that cycle this system for making each year's action plans better than anyone before, right? So they're not deciding, how is our team going to operate this next year? What are we going to do this next year? That's all pre-decided, right? They've decided this already. So in essence, we decide once, and then we can act often and consistently, and then we can adjust and align as needed. So that's that iteration, that study adjust. So we don't have to keep deciding, how are we going to behave as a team? How are we going to behave in our achievement system? We're going to have a goal cycle. Individual leaders in their departments are going to set and achieve goals. The organization is going to set and achieve goals. So these cycles, like a goal cycle embedded into the achievement system, is part of this continuous activity to execute on our plans. But also in the achievement system is, for instance, a strategic planning cycle. That might be a 3-year strategic planning cycle. And then we take that down to the annual goal cycle and the annual budget cycle, where we have to fund our annual goals and make sure we have the resources allocated for that. So these cycles, a strategic planning cycle, a goal cycle, a budget cycle, are subsystems, right? Or cycles that are the purposeful activities, this rhythm, this cadence, this routine that helps us use this powerful system to achieve our vision, to achieve our strategic priorities. And when we think about the leadership system, so this is how we lead around here, embedded in that is a learning cycle. So a continuous cycle of leaders learning. We don't just do these one-off things, ad hoc, one-off activities to train leaders. We have a continuous learning cycle. It's a rhythm and cadence of purposeful activities to elevate the effectiveness of our leaders. We can be more aligned with that. What is it that our leaders need to learn to be able to lead the organization to achieve its top strategic priorities? What are the learning needs involved with that? And also to operate these systems and manage day-to-day operations and lead people, right? So what is it that they need to learn? And it's this continuous cycle of investing in the effectiveness of our leaders. Very purposeful, not wasteful at all, and much better ROI. And just like a goal cycle where you want to make each one better than any one before, same thing with your learning cycle. Make each learning cycle better than any one before. This isn't extra work. This is how we do our work. Just like taking care of my health, it's not extra work. It's how I live my life. It's how we continually improve and grow our healthcare organizations, is guided by a framework, guided by a formula, guided by these systems, guided by these embedded cycles in this system. And truly having these systems and these cycles embedded in these systems, we can be more proactive. We know what our 3-year plan is. We know how we're going to break that down into 1-year goal cycles and budget cycles. So we can really be forecasting out. We know what that's going to mean for the teams. We know what it's going to mean for our leadership system and cycles. We know what the changes are going to be that we need to embed into our change systems and cycles, and start proactively anticipating the change barriers so that we can prevent them or eliminate them and minimize them. So we can definitely be more proactive when we have this systematic and cyclical approach to execution. And it's also more predictable. We don't feel like we're always trying to figure it out. We have these systems, and now we run this through the system. We have these cycles. Now we apply it to the current strategies and goals. So we can count on it. It's predictable. We can know our role in it. We can teach new people their role in it. We can know other people's role in it. And that can really decrease change fatigue as well. And pretty soon you're changing faster, easier, without so much angst and overwhelm. And ultimately, when it comes to the topic of this podcast, which is culture change, If we go back to what is the definition of culture and we adopt the definition, this is how we do things around here. You can imagine that organizations that operate on these systems, operate with these cycles, how we do things around here is well defined. It's well known by all. We've decided what they are. It comes easier to act on them, quicker to act on them, more impactful to act on them. And ultimately, we get faster, better, more sustainable results. Personally, in my life, for always improving my health, that's what I want. And professionally, helping organizations be able to adopt this framework, this formula, these systems, and these embedded cycles is my life's work. Because ultimately, what we see on the other side of organizations utilizing this approach is stronger healthcare organizations. And when it comes to small and rural healthcare organizations, when you strengthen a healthcare organization, you are strengthening the community. And that is such purposeful work and exciting work. And so if you're an organization that is lacking execution systems and these embedded cycles that help you execute well and faster and more sustainably. You can go to our website, capstoneleadership.net, and there's a contact us page, and you can send us a note and arrange some time for us to chat with your healthcare executives about your organization's systems. We can even do a systems analysis real quick over the phone in an hour, help you understand where your gaps are and how our approach might be helpful to your organization now and well into the future. You can also book a call right on that page. So capstoneleadership.net, a contact us page. We would love to talk about the results your organization is getting and dig into what systems are driving your current results and culture. Looking forward to next week and another episode of Culture Change RX. If this episode was helpful to you, we'd love it if you would leave a review. And also, if you could share it with another healthcare executive and spread the word about the power of cycles in our healthcare organizations. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Bye now. Thanks for tuning in to Culture Change RX. If you found value in today's episode and you are a believer in fostering change in healthcare, join us in making a difference. Follow, rate, and review our podcast on your favorite platform. Share it with colleagues and your network. Together, we can make a lasting impact. Until next week, keep inspiring positive change. We know that healthcare executives have their sights on high reliability, just culture, and psychological safety. In true capstone fashion, we're all about helping simplify the complex and helping entire healthcare organizations execute successfully on big, bold initiatives such as these. One such way that we can help is through our upcoming Healthcare Executive Forum. In its 13th year, this forum has been helping healthcare executives learn proven approaches for executing successfully on big, bold initiatives. So whether you're just starting your journey to high reliability or well on your way, this event has something for everyone. Our time-honored commitment is that every attendee leave with an actionable and impactful plan that they can just start when they get back to the office the next day. The event is on June 18th and 19th. In Madison, Wisconsin, and you can go to capstoneleadership.net and under the resources page, look for the details on our upcoming events. Plan now for you and your executive team to attend.